All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the finals of the 2021 Collegiate World Series Thought Series. I'm going to turn it over to Julio Cotto, the Senior Vice President with the National Hispanic Institute, who's going to get us started, I think. In a second. You guys all ready to go? All right, I'm looking forward to seeing what you came up with. Okay. All right, Julio, we're ready.
All right, well, welcome everyone who is streaming in. We were getting our stream set up. We are putting the announcement on. So to those of you who want to share the finals with your family, you can go to our YouTube and link there, or you can go to youtube.com/NHITV. In fact, I'm going to put an announcement while I'm telling you this. Give you a second to text your parents. And so, after this, we will take a short break and continue with the senior ceremony. So first, the way that this will work is that we're going to do the finals. Right now, we will hear all the presentations, and then we'll take a brief break to kind of just change the setting a little bit, change some of our backgrounds, and prepare for the senior recognition. Those of you by now, I put an announcement out, but we'll just say it again. Those of you right now, all of you should have hopefully received an official NHI Zoom background that will match your graduation cord. If you already received, some of you or most of you received your graduation cords already, you can feel free to wear them tonight. If some of you had graduation attire, you can wear it. I know I will be wearing some graduation attire for the event, but we want to make sure that we thank one final time our sponsors, Schreiner University, the University of North Texas, State Farm, and in particular, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, that's had a very important role in helping us to transition the CWSx to the digital space, helping us support our research, and in the future, helping us to continue to add elements to the financial aid game and financial process. So we cannot thank them enough. I know you've heard us mention them, and it's important that they know that we appreciate them and that we, in this time, needed and had a lot of investors, and they were part of that community. So thank you so much to our sponsors. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John, who will help moderate and lead our four final presentations. As we heard before the break, all of the teams were within 10 points of each other and could earn over 150 points each. So we will see how things pan out. And with that, I pass it back to you, John.
Okay, thank you, Julio. For those of you joining us, my name is John Lopez. I had the privilege of being the educational director for this program and have spent the past 2 days this week and 3 days last week working with a fine group of young people, guiding them through a couple of different types of experiences. The process over the past couple of days has been the introduction of a learning model called inquiry-based learning, where we introduce a methodology that helps them approach decision-making. All of these students are coming to a point in their lives when they're going to have to start making decisions that will have a very real impact on their lives, their families' lives. And so having a methodology that will help them navigate the coming years is important. And so this is the fourth round of competition. We've had 3 priors. After the first 2 rounds, there were 11 points separating first place and fourth place. So this is still anybody's ball game. And so I'm really excited to see what they've come up with. So without further ado, the first team to go in the finals will be Yellow Caliente. So you guys are going to be up. And if you guys can share who's going to speak in the chat or just tell us so we can
We're
spotlight.
all going to speak, but it doesn't allow me to share my screen.
Oh.
Give it another try.
Try again.
Give it another. There we go.
Okay, each team's going to have 8 minutes for this round. And I will start the timer as soon as you start speaking. You'll have about a 30-second grace period at the end as well. So whenever you guys are ready, you can begin.
Hello, everybody. We are Team Caliente, and we're excited to talk to you about how we will make an impact on the Latinx community in our changing world.
Now, obviously, we need to keep in mind the fundamentals of our organization, what we stand for. And two very important ones are number 3 and 15. Now, these are meant to build upon our community and advancing as a whole, not just as individuals, in ways that are innovative, creative, and experimental.
So first we had to ask, and before we did that, we broke down the prompt once again. We looked at it one sentence at a time and highlighted key terms to help us come to one single question after all the questions that we had to ask first, which led us to this one question. How can we as leaders of the NHI community maximize the impact on the Latinx community using innovative methods to advance our cause for the current and future times? And here we photoshopped our faces on the board of directors as we are now the leaders of NHI.
So the second step was to investigate question to question. So a couple of variables that came into play here are the Latinx community, the tools, the group, the goal, and the activities. So what does that look like in question form? Essentially, it's what can we do as the NHI board to directly impact our community and maximize that impact as much as we can? And how do we preserve our identity as a Latinx community and in 2051? What tools are still relevant in 2051? Did we shift completely online or are we going back to the olden days? What group and demographic should we target when we're creating these activities and these programs? What activities best represent the fundamentals that we're targeting? What is our goal with these programs? What activities are still relevant in 2051? And should we consider partnering up with another Hispanic institution to maximize our impact?
After going through the investigation part and considering how we can consider how to create change in our community, we came up with 5 ideas. First, we came up with starting a new NHI program, which is focused on trying to solve community problems, having an art contest, a VR headset, NHI talks, and writing your future. We focus on how we can take these things we learned in the past and apply it to how we can help create change in our future.
After debating and finding the weak and strong parts of each of the 5 ideas proposed, we decided to make a new NHI program. Our goal was to come up with a program within the National Hispanic Institute that provides a space where our ideas flourish and impact the Latinx community, making sure that it is not so far out of reach that it can be achieved with the resources that we have at hand. As the National Hispanic Institute, we have thousands of young minds working together and expressing their points of view in all of our current programs. Our new program is directed towards college students and young adults, fortifying leadership skills and applying the skills learned at past NHI programs into the real world. But what separates us from the rest of the NHI programs? Action. Unlike current events, we wouldn't be working in hypothetical scenarios, but in the real world, focusing on our community assets, past program service training to make us strong, independent Latinx leaders, Great Debate, LDZ, and CWS give us all the skill set necessary to make an impact in our community. And that impact will be seen in Foundation for the Future, or FFF. Also, thanks to the flexibility of the theme of each event of FFF, NHIers can tackle various types of problems that are most relevant in the Latinx community. And as we move into the future, more problems will arise and new ideas and areas of focus will appear that we haven't thought of before. This program changes, just like how our world changes. We will be constantly keeping up with current events and providing solutions for issues that need it. Step by step, program by program, action by action, we can make the change.
Our new NHI program, Foundation for the Future, will take place in 2 parts, similar to the CWS. The first part's goal will be to formulate a plan to create positive change in their community, while the second part is actually enacting that change. In case anyone is not aware of how the NHI programs work, in each program, the institution pairs up with colleges across the nation to house students for around a week. During this week, students will complete whatever the program entails. Whether it be a debate or a mock government. Foundation for the Future runs the same way, and the positive change will be in the community of the college that we will pair with. In addition, to narrow down the topics of the plans to make the staff's lives easier, each year will run under a pre-decided theme. All the topics of change must fall under this theme. The plan that the students will develop will be as detailed as possible and will eventually be presented in front of their peers. The best presentation and plan will be decided by the staff judges, and that will be the plan carried out in Part 2. Part 2 of this program will consist of the students carrying out this plan, which will be an amazing example of hands-on experience of community service. The staff will be monitoring this whole process to make sure it goes along smoothly to prevent any issues from arising. The result is that the students will end up learning skills that they can use in the future to carry out more positive change in whatever community they decide to reside in. This program consists of something different from all the past programs, which is completely essential in 2051, where older versions of social justice renders much less useful. Therefore, this program is essential to promote positive growth in the Latinx community.
In the Evaluate section of the IBL process, we will analyze how smoothly our program ran and if we were able to achieve our goals. We will ask questions such as, did this program stand out? Were we able to approach problem solving in an innovative way? Second, how did the students perform? How did the students tackle the theme and how well did they execute their plans? We will also question whether we received enough funding to carry out the plans of the students. By asking these questions, we can modify our program to provide a better experience for the participants.
And that is our plan as NHI Board of Directors. We are Team Hielo Caliente. Have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you guys. That was really good. Congratulations. The next team to go up is going to be the Funky Ducklings. So let's if you could share who's speaking in the chat, we can get people spotlighted. Yeah. Okay. And so just like the last team, you'll have 8 minutes, and I'll start the timer whenever you guys begin. So you guys can start whenever you're ready.
Hello, we are the Funkly Ducklings, and this is our finals challenge. We first wanted to reintroduce the IBL process, which we know is ask, investigate, create, reflect, plan, and evaluate. With the first step being ask, we are asking ourselves, how do we build on the assets of our community? By doing so, we asked ourselves a series of questions which include, how will we build on the assets of our community? How can we learn from the past and better the future? What is needed in our community beyond social justice advocacy? And what areas can we adapt to changing our world? What are new community interests? How can we sustain it for up to the next 50 years? What are the benefits that we will get from it? And what will the overall impact of this be? As well as how can we encourage the Latinx community to continue this change on for further generations? With that being said, we decided our overall question would be, how can NHI enrich Latinx youth's perspective on race, culture, and history?
Our next step was investigating. So next slide, please. The main thing was what we knew. The year is 2051, technology is advancing, there's high population growth and climate change, and more importantly, a lack of social justice advocacy. The main things we need to know and the main questions we're asking are, how many senior citizens are in the Latinx community? How many of those senior citizens are involved with NHI? What percentage of NHI members are first-generation immigrants, and what percentage of Latino countries are represented through NHI participants?
So now for the third step in the process, which is create, we asked ourselves, what can we actually do to achieve this goal? So we brainstormed various ideas, the first of which is building sustainable social justice advocacy programs. So NHI should focus on educating others about societal issues such as racism and try to prevent the social justice advocacy from not accomplishing our needs again. The next thing would be to create a program enforcing inclusivity in our community. And so in this program, it would be that any race, nationality can take part. And this is because exclusivity is still a big issue. So we really want to foster that inclusivity. And we would want to explain and get younger generations to understand that you don't need to be Latino by blood to be a part of the community. And then as well as in NHI programs, we could dedicate a day explaining Latinx holidays and culture, as well as hosting storytelling evenings featuring expert Latinx individuals. And this way, NHIers could learn why the holiday is celebrated rather than simply celebrating it.
The next part is the reflection. So a first question would be, what is realistic and why? So there's so much opportunity for our ancestors to be involved within the community and share stories of their past. And then we also asked ourselves, what's unrealistic and why? And expecting a big change in a small amount of time and getting several NHI predecessors to participate can be challenging and maybe slightly unrealistic. The next question was, is this an innovative approach to addressing the challenge? And it is, as it includes NHI members' extended families to join in and help enrich the next generations to come. NHI parents and grandparents have never been used in this way, and that makes it much different than current NHI operations. So that connects to Fundamental 15. It also utilizes Latinx communities' current assets, our vast history and array of cultures, and that makes it sustainable. So that carries on pride in our community and connects back to Fundamental 3. And again, the next part was the plan. Sorry.
And now moving on to the plan. So when doing this plan, we asked ourselves, what are the steps needed to make this a reality? So with that, With that said, we first started out with wanting to reach out families from different backgrounds in the community and letting them know if they are up to par with this program. Next on our list is to set up these storytelling evenings where we have our, as Sarah previously stated, our predecessors explaining and giving stories about the past that will eventually create the future. Next up, we will introduce it within outside of NHI through social media. This be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all social media platforms that can get many people involved. We then move on to having volunteers present or share history, folklore, pride of their country, regardless of being Latinx or not, because again, we are valuing that inclusivity, that aspect of wanting everybody to share a part of their culture. Next up is to reach out to high schools willing to participate and asking these high schools if they want to be part of this enrichment storytelling evening, which then leads to our overall goal of promoting storytelling to enrich Latinx youth and their wide range of origins.
The last step is evaluating. So in evaluating, we look at our successes and how is this program successful. So this program would be successful because it tackles social advocacy, which was lacking before, and we want to prevent it from happening again. And it also touches on fundamental number 3 and number 25, which number 3, it includes ancestors' experience. So that's our pride, that's our culture, and that's our history. And for number 25, it's an innovative idea because we're including grandparents, which we usually don't do in NHI. And some improvements or even struggles is gathering ancestors and getting approved from high schools, because this can be really hard since it is a new program, and to spread it around would be difficult.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Muchas gracias.
Okay, good job, you guys. Thank you, Team Funky Ducklings. All right, so the next team up is going to be the Dangerous Goldfish.
Oh, it's going to be all of us.
Okay. Okay, so you guys can start whenever you're ready. And I'll start the timer when you start talking.
Okay, so we are the Dangerous Goldfish, and this is our final challenge. Hope you enjoy. So in our Ask section, we started off by analyzing the prompt and took note of the ongoing issues like a population growth, a boom in technology, a lack of adaptation, and a need for innovation. We understood that to keep up in this rapidly changing world, something big needed to be done. We decided that we need to look back at our past to see how we can improve our future. We also understood the importance of the fundamentals and made sure we were building on our community, ambitious with our ideas. We went through a lot of questions and ideas, and after careful deliberation, our team came to our root question, which is, what are some past opportunities that NHI hasn't capitalized on yet, and how can we improve upon these moving forward?
So next up in our IBL process is we began to investigate our root problem. And so we started thinking about what actually are these opportunities that NHI could capitalize on in the future, and what can they improve on? So we started thinking about how could NHI be more involved in education, as well as being more involved within and outside of the Latinx community, because we know that NHI is currently very focused on creating leaders within the Latinx community. But we thought maybe we could take a step outside the community to continue our advocacy and our leadership on a broader scale.
So from there, we decided that we wanted to create a new branch of NHI that would solely focus on external affairs. So again, touching on that education, we want to integrate a new system of education to be put in schools. So this means teaching different perspectives of Latino history and including our history besides only starting our history when the colonizers come in. We also want to be more involved in politics, and this branch will focus on that. So by being more involved in real-time politics, this will reach beyond the Latino community and bring us representation. And it can also represent those families who normally don't get a say in our current government in America. And with helping our own Latinx community, we can focus on more hands-on activities like charity events, food shelters, and just kind of building up those Latino communities that really need it.
When it came to beginning to reflect on all of our choices and all of the things that we needed to focus, we found that two main things always came into mind and that we wanted to really have reflected on our solution, which were expansion and innovation. We believe that we needed to look for an idea that was very inclusive and that that actually reached out to those demographics that aren't really present in NHI today and that are an opportunity that has been standing there. We also have to consider that by the year that the prompt is suggesting, the life of NHI will already have reached 72 years old. So we really think that the network of leaders that the current programs are seeking to establish will already be established by that point, and it is already time to expand that outreach to other people in the community. But of course, answering our next reflection question, we need to find an effective way to expand that community involvement of the organization. And when it came into regards of the innovation, we needed to find an idea that actually keeps pushing NHI, takes it out of its comfort zone, and that really takes us to new challenges that can bring, again, more people in and that projects our vision of third reality even further. But at the same time, we think that the more reach the organization has under this new solution, the more we actually need to be involved in creating a better narrative in education, since it's one of the most important aspects of today's world.
Then we came to the plan, which is creating NHI's new brand, as well as the outreach form of strengthening our presence within Latin America. So our plan consists of the new branch we talked about earlier that focuses on external affairs. This branch will create an IBL-based academic curriculum that reflects our accurate representation of Latina history and that upholds our culture. We do want to keep culture at the center of our education. We also want community involvement that incorporates previous service practices like food shelter and charity, which would be integrated with the network of businesses and have some connection to NHI. It is important that the work that we do is still connected to the base organization of NHI as a whole. And finally, our outreach plan, which is to expand the goals of representation in government and media to other communities, as well as to strengthen the Institute's presence in Latin America. We do want to branch out of the United States more than we already do. There are some programs in Panama and Puerto Rico. However, we do feel the need that NHI should be expanding on a more global scale, specifically within Latin America.
Throughout that, we realized that if the world is keep moving and new technologies are providing, we are trying to thinking about if this new branch will become the old paradigm in the future. So if not a lot of people will be joining or like improve our new methods, it will become old and the old paradigms will be successful. But as well with success, we could, as the program will be innovated with food and charity, it will define new opportunities and how successful will that be. So through the success, we were thinking how it would address some changes of the new community, Latino community, since it will begin to the youth of Latino to change. And later on, it will innovate other cultures or other communities to be with us and how it will be effective throughout this new branching and worldwide. Moving on to the fundamentals. So throughout this new branch, it was the fundamentals 3 and 15, I believe, it will be perspired. So celebrate and cherish on our Latino community. So this will show the new education systems that we're trying to move and connect, since we are trying to move like textbooks and other perspective to be the perspective of Latinos, not as already stated by my partner, the colonization part, but it will also bring our Hispanic truth and prosperity of need of change. And while free mind to create, it will be our new challenge of the youth to beat the change. And also it's a new branch. So it will be a new innovation, some new motivation, so the youth can be our voice and also bring back history. So yes, thank you. And hopefully you enjoyed our presentation.
Thank you. Okay, you guys timed that perfectly. That was really good. The last team up is going to be Natalies Angels. And so you guys will have 8 minutes and I'll start when y'all are ready. Oops.
No, Tere is part of the Natalies Angels.
Okay, y'all can start whenever you're ready.
Hello, we are Natalies Angels, and this is our final challenge presentation.
Based on the prompt of us becoming the NHI board, our reaction to these new positions was how can we utilize develop new technology to help advance the Latino community and combat new world issues.
And so the first question is, what does the NHI need? What we're really trying to ask is, what are the fundamentals that we must consider, and like what principles should we really be focusing on? And also, what's something that we can do to promote NHI, and what changes does NHI need to implement? Also, we need to ask, how do we grow as an institution without having to lower our expectation towards the applicants? And also, what changes do we need in order to adapt it to the 21st century? Such as, what technology do we have access to, and what other resources can we have access to?
Okay, so then we went on to the investigation part. And so we decided to look up, like, how will we make sure everyone has access to these materials? And so we thought of technology initiative. what technology do we have access to? And so we realized we have like personal devices like computers, phones, etc. And then what changes do we need in order to adapt to the 21st century? So we thought of like developing new technology and establishing new roles to break down the language barrier that some of us have. And then how do we benefit the community and NHI? Well, this would lead to like networking and then as well as easier access to technology and resources. And there would be less paper that we waste.
Okay, so in the part of create, we have certain ideas such as making the NH Hire app and website. We chose to make a new initiative called Distribute Technology Initiative to make sure every participant can access it, and an international accommodation director.
So to reflect, the main solution we chose is to create an app and website called NH Hire. This app and website will include the ability to create a profile for yourself where you can put your pronouns and programs you've attended. It will also have an NHI Connect page where you can chat with NHI alums and other college contacts. We will also have a translation feature to help let every NHI member speak with each other. The app and website can also be a Streamlive archive where we can put documents like the NHI workbook and past presentations. We will also have a page where you can easily find each schedule for all the programs and another page which has the settings. So we used a couple different criteria to decide on our solution. First, we had to decide which option would advance community interest the most. We decided on the app and website because of its versatility and its ability to bring NHIers together more easily, which can greatly help to advance community interests. We also had to decide which option would benefit the Latino AEX community over the next 50 years the most. This app accomplishes this, letting the NHI community thrive by creating a place where NHIers can help each other and network with each other. So for the fundamentals, this app achieves fundamental number 3 by celebrating and cherishing Latin American culture. This is achieved through the app's translation feature, which can help take down the language barrier between English-speaking NHIers versus Spanish-speaking NHIers. We will also have a program on the app to help English speakers speak Spanish and vice versa through lessons. And this app achieves fundamental number 15 by freeing your mind to create. This is achieved through the creation of our app and website, which will help improve the digitization of NHI. We are also innovative by incorporating a translation feature into the app that won't use a robotic voice. Finally, we are incorporating success by allowing fellow NHIers to network with each other through the app to greatly broaden an NHIers network.
So now, what's the plan? What's your solution? As we said, NHI would be a platform, also a website or an app, both actually, where it would be more easy for the students, for the alumni to access the resources to the programs. Here you could be uploading your documentation. You could translate, see other students' profile. In the specific cases for each specific program, you could put a code and then that would lead you to for example, if you're in an LDC, it would let you know what's your dot group, who are the judges, who you can vote for. So you wouldn't have to use paper. You would submit your proposals through the app. So a lot of paper would be not wasted. Then the international accommodation director would be someone in charge of making sure that people from countries from Latin America and people from America both are able to communicate with each other, so that language is not a problem for the program. And then finally, the distributing technology initiative is it's based on having a La Tiendita or a merch shop in which we gather resources in order to give them back to the students, because without them having a computer or a phone or certain technology, they wouldn't be able to access NHIer or other technology we have been proposing for the future.
Okay, so the first step to a solid plan is to create a timeline so that we can create our actions to operate as effective as possible. First, we will implement our International Accommodation Director, then activate our app and website NHI Hire, and then distribute our technology initiative. Following this, through media, we will promote NHI to gain support and acknowledgement of this great institution. As NHI excels through these new platforms, we will then be able to create new solutions to other issues like creating a language app to support the language barrier. NHI's app layout would be effective and productive to support NHIers and staff along with each program. This will provide a space to cover all of NHI's needs like connection, a workspace, language support, and even promoting our own store. Goals for our app include over 1,000 downloads from our first launch, from launch to the end of our first year. And then our goal for our store is to create almost over $40,000 in profits so that we can have enough money to gain at least 100 computers to give to NHRs to start our technology initiative.
Okay, so finally, we did the evaluate, and so we asked ourselves 2 questions. So how will you know that we came up with the right decision? Well, NHI's network expands and increases, and so there are more students, alumni, sponsors within our community, and it would make things easier and convenient for everyone involved. And then how will you know that your plan is working to implement your decision? Well, one of them would be the use of paper has decreased within NHI because instead of using paper, we would be using our app. New rising leaders would represent our community because by inviting other people in, more people will also come out of this program. And then NHI's network would grow and it promotes their ideals to more people from our Latinx community.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We hope you liked it.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so this concludes the program competition, and we're going to take a short break. And at 5 o'clock, we're going to start with the award ceremony, the closing ceremony. I just want to say I really enjoyed working with you guys. I'm pleased with the progress you made. I'm very proud of the work you've done. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys do next because I think you have the skills and the tools to really do a lot. So I'm really, really happy to have been working with you. And we'll see you guys in about 15 minutes for the closing and the award ceremony. And we'll find out who won.
We're going to cut the stream for a few minutes, but we will keep the Zoom room open. So the Zoom room will remain open.